Yo, what's going on today, guys? It's Rick here with RR Sports, and we're going to be doing our daily NBA playoff recap where we're going to talk about each and every one of these games. I always recommend pull up the box score. We can kind of look at them together and kind of break down exactly what happened in these games today and what we are kind of seeing what's going to happen going forward in the series. So, we had lots of bad things happen in today's games. Lots of injuries, like freaky injuries, potentially season-ending injuries, like not a great day for the NBA, and I'm sure the NBA front office script writers are like, oh man, this is not what we want. But obviously that's a joke. But let's talk about them, guys. First game of the day, we had the Lakers and Grizzlies. This was just a weird one. So at a certain point in the game, you guys all know what I'm talking about if you guys have seen it. AD gets his funny bone hit or something on a weird play, and his arm goes limp, and he goes, I can't move it. Dude comes back in the game, and he's perfectly fine. What are you talking about, dude? Did you get a stinger? There's no way you can have your arm just be completely limp and be like, I can't move it. Dude, come on. I understand AD gets hate in the press, and I'm not an AD hater, but seriously, dude, you can't move your arm and they're going to come back in and just dunk on people? It's weird. And then the other main one in this one, Ja Morant's hand looks like it is messed up. He had a seriously bad injury on that today, and rumors say in the locker room he couldn't even undo his socks. So I'm assuming that is going to be the end of the series for Ja Morant, and probably the end of the series for the Grizzlies, because a lot of people were starting to favor the Lakers in this just to begin with because they're kind of on a roar right now. They're feeling really good and playing really well, just top to bottom. Their bench is playing well. And then the Grizzlies, they've been consistent all year, but if you're going to lose Ja Morant, that's probably just GG for them. They're going to need someone to really step up hugely, because missing out on their big boy Steven Adams and now Ja Morant, now they're lacking size and speed, so it's going to be a really tough series. The end of the day, Tyrus Jones is a very good backup, but I don't think he's going to be able to carry him through the series. So what we saw today was basically Austin Reeves had that dog in him. This was a pretty close game in the fourth quarter, and then Austin Reeves just took over at the end. It was pretty awesome to see because, let's be honest, Austin Reeves is a very underrated player in the NBA, and you always kind of root for those guys, even though he's on the Lakers. You kind of got to be okay, congratulations. Give that guy his flowers. He played a really good game. D'Angelo Russell, they didn't leave him out to dry this game. They actually played him. He scored 19. LeBron James had 21, 11, and 5. AD had 22, 12, and 3. 7 blocks for AD. So he also had 3 steals. So he created 10 turnovers on his own, but he couldn't feel his arm at some point, So that's basically how that game went. I mean, it was really close, surprisingly, because Jaren Jackson Jr. had a fantastic game. He scored 31, went 13 and 21 from the field, had 2 blocks of his own and a steal. It was a really good game, to be honest. And then Ja Morant went down with that injury, and from there, it was pretty much just chalked. So Lakers ended up winning 128-112. I don't think there's too much more to talk about this game, to be honest. We'll see if Ja Morant can get healthy somehow, but it's not looking good. Next, we had the Heat and the Bucks game. Another game where a major player got injured. Well, actually, 2 major players got injured. So Giannis left the game with a back contusion. He landed awkwardly on the ground. It didn't look like anything crazy, but apparently it was bad enough to where he maybe tweaked it when he hit it or something to get that contusion, because it looked like an average play for him, nothing too crazy. And then he's out for the rest of the game. So the Miami Heat actually upset them and take a game off the Bucks game 1, which is probably the biggest upset of this whole thing, because a lot of people are saying that the Bucks are the best team in the NBA right now. So Jimmy Buckets came out and did his thing. But before we get really into those stats, Tyler Hero got hurt. He broke his hand. And I'm very surprised in the play. I don't know how he broke it. I was watching it and it wasn't a great camera angle, but I don't know how he broke his hand. And it really sucks for the Heat because they're already running pretty thin throughout the year. They've had lots of injuries, and I'm pretty sure that ends up just chalking the series eventually, because Tyler Hero is obviously their number 2 option, with Jimmy Butler being the number 1. So we'll see what ends up happening. Maybe Eric Spanozo, I'm so bad at his name, Eric, can come out and make some kind of coaching miracle happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. But let's talk about just this game in general. Jimmy Buckets came out, gave him 35, 5, and 11. So double-double with an insane efficiency. Bam had 22, 9, and 7. So Bam in the history has really shut down Giannis. Like, I think Bam is not the best defending center. I do think that's still Mitchell Robinson, which I was talking about yesterday. But if you're talking about just like crafty defense, like Bam defends the hands better than anyone in the league. So when someone has like the ball like in front of him, like he is so good at just swiping it out of there, just creating like a very uncomfortable state for them to be in. So Bam had, like I just said, 22, 9, and 7. Pretty good game. Vincent gave him 15. Tyler Hero had 12 before he got hurt. Max Struss didn't give him 30 like he did in the game before, but he got 8 today. Not many shots, only 5 shots. Kevin Love came off the bench with 18, though, and same with Caleb Martin, gave him 15. So big night for Kevin Love. He went 18 with 8 rebounds. So that's basically all you could ever want out of Kevin Love. And then when you go to the other side, we're looking at the Bucks. Giannis only had 6 points in 11 minutes before getting injured. Chris Middleton had 33. He was red hot. And the only reason this game was even close at one point was because he was on an absolute tear. Drew Holiday had a really bad game. One of his, like, kind of had this over his whole career because he's not meant to be a shooter. Like, Drew Holiday is built to play defense and be a distributing ball. Like, he had 16 assists. Like, he passed very well today. But he went 6 of 18 shooting. And that's just, like, in the history of him, that's what he does. Like, he has bad game shooting. Brook Lopez gave him 10 with 3 blocks and a steal. Grayson Allen had 12. Bobby Portis had 21 off the bench, which is probably another reason why they were able to stay in the game. But at the end of the day, the Heat kind of just ran away with it once Giannis got hurt. And they said it on the announcing of the game, but it really did, like, when you're watching, you're like, it's really not very loud in that stadium. I do think when Giannis got hurt, it kind of deflated like the entire stadium. Like, I do think that is a huge thing for that franchise. Like, obviously Giannis is going to go down as maybe a top 25 player of all time when he's all done with it, maybe even higher than that, maybe top 15. But legitimately, when he's not on the court, that team it's still a good team, but they can lose to anyone at that point because they don't have Giannis taking over the game and just dominating. So, yeah, I was very surprised. I don't think anyone would have picked if anyone actually got a parlay of all the wins today, I would be amazed. Like, these were some really weird games, and pretty much every favorite lost. I think every home team lost today, right? Yeah, Grizzlies lost, Bucks lost, Suns lost. And then actually the Nuggets game's going on right now. I started recording before the game ended and they're dominating. So 3 out of 4 teams that are at home lost today. So interesting point. Next, we're going to get into the Suns game. Clippers won 115-110. If you guys have been here before, I am a Suns fan. I will give you guys the most real take I can give you. I'm not very biased when it comes to sports just because at the same time, I'm very like picky on them. So I'm going to try not to go too long on this one. The Suns lost game 1. Basically how this whole game went is slow start for the Suns. They only scored 18 points in the first quarter, and then KD got super hot in the second, brought the game to like 5 points at half, and then from there on, it was just like kind of a back and forth battle. The Suns went on a big run in the third quarter, and Monty Williams made one of the worst coaching decisions I have ever seen. We're on like a 14 or 16-0 run, and he went from all the starters being in while on this run to putting in Devin Booker with an all-bench lineup. Like we're playing like the Hornets in the middle of the season. Like, instantly they get the lead back. Like, it was such a bad decision. Like, you can't in the playoffs do that. Like, the Suns came out and played 11 players tonight. That's for a different rant. Let me finish the game. Let me continue real quick here before I get any further into that rant. But essentially, the Clippers just kept hitting clutch shots as it came on. Kawhi Leonard took absolutely over at the end. He hit 2 clutch threes, and then Eric Gordon hit a massive 3 as well off of some really good offensive rebounding by Russell Westbrook, who had a rough game, but he did plenty on the defensive end, just in general basketball terms, and that led to a great game for him. So let's talk numbers, though. Kawhi Leonard had 38. The Suns went with a Torrey Craig starting lineup, which we have not ran in probably 2 months, because they like the matchup better for that. Well, you can throw that idea out the freaking window because he went 38, 5-5. So that didn't work. Next, we had Zubac, had 15 boards with 12 points. And then Russell Westbrook went 9, 10, and 8 with 2 steals and 3 blocks. And he only turned over the ball 2 times. So, and then we have to talk about multiple people here because Eric Gordon had 19 himself. So, and then off the bench, they had 14 from Powell, 10 from Mann. Plumlee had 7 and 11 rebounds. So, they played a really good game. I mean, Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in the NBA. He might be the best coach in the NBA, but he's been given this like injury-prone lineup, and like, what can you really do with that at the end of the day? So he's such a good coach. I can't say that enough. On the Suns end, we had Kevin Durant 27, 9, and 11. You had Torrey Craig 22, 3, and 4. You had 18, 8, and 8. That's a big issue right there. Ayton needed more rebounds. Like, I can't talk enough about how Ayton does not work the glass. He had 0 offensive rebounds. You're 7 feet tall, bro. Russell Westbrook had 5 on his own. Next, we had Chris Paul. Bad shooting night for Chris Paul. He went 2 of 8 from the field and missed his classic like mid-range jumper probably 5 times that are wide open. He had 11 boards. So 3 more boards than Ayton. And then 10 assists. So, like, he made up for it on his end. He only turned over the ball once. Like, he did just fine. Where the issue on this stands is, actually, Devin Booker had 26. Only 1 rebound, surprising. 3 assists, 4 steals. And then he had 4 blocks, but I guess they took 1 away. I'm looking at this. The interesting thing about it is the way that Monty went with his lineup today. Like I said earlier, he decided to go with 11 players in a playoff game. You never see that, by the way. If you guys haven't followed, it's usually 7, 8, maybe 9 at the max players typically. But he gave 7 minutes to Ish Wainwright, who arguably shouldn't even be in the NBA, to be honest. Like, he averaged 5 points in college, and he's just not very good. I like Ish. He seems like a really cool dude and a great person to have like on your team, but basketball-wise, not that good. Josh Okogie, who's been freaking amazing for us and like easily earned the 5th starting spot, 7 points or 7 minutes total, 0 points. Like, why? Don't know. Biyombo played 5 minutes. Jock Landale played 8 minutes, which I think it's fine, like switching those guys off. Like, I think the center portion is fine. Ayton can't play the whole game as a center. Next, we had Landry Shamet, who has been horrible this year and injured most of it. 24 minutes. Randomly, by the way, as someone that watches the Suns, like, he typically doesn't get that many minutes. And then Terrence Ross, who's been very good. He is streaky throughout his career. Like, he can get super hot or super cold. He only played 4 minutes. Experienced scorer when we were down in the game. Didn't get any minutes. He played 4 minutes. TJ Warren, a legitimate 20-point scorer, 20-point a game scorer in the NBA, 0 minutes. Damian Lee, who was top 5 in 3-point percentage this year, 0 minutes. But you're going to put out Ish Wainwright and Landry Shamet for 24 minutes? And it's honestly mind-blowing. Like, I understand. Like, I personally love Monty Williams. I think he's a great coach, and like, he's really developed players well. He gets a lot out of his guys. But some of these moves that he's making, it's like, are you trying to lose the game? Like, legitimately. Like, at the end of the game, too, when we were trying to win the clutch time, like, Chris Paul and Ayton and Torrey Craig were taking all the shots. Why wasn't Devin Booker and Kevin Durant taking the shots? Like, super weird. I personally can't tell you. Like, we're getting good looks for the other guys, but like, it was so weird. I don't get it. Monty Williams, you need to figure it out, my guy, because you personally are going to be the reason why the Suns lose the playoffs if you keep doing stuff like that with your bench. You played 11 guys and you got 10 points out of your bench. The reason that the Clippers actually won tonight is because of their bench. They had 10, 20, 34 points out of their bench? Yeah, and they only played 4 guys off their bench. Surprising. And they have like much better guys off their bench. Like Robert Covington played 0 minutes. Marcus Morris played 0 minutes. Like they have two legitimately, like they could start on some of the bad teams in the NBA and they didn't even get minutes. But we have Ish Wainwright that probably shouldn't even be in the NBA playing 7 minutes. Like, not good. Every one of the Suns starters except for Devin Booker was plus on the plus minus today. Almost every single one of them on the bench that played was almost minus 10 or worse. So, moral of the story, play your starters. All right, so that's all we're going to go into on that game. I could literally make an entire YouTube video just on that game myself, but let's talk about the Timberwolves and Nuggets game. It looks like it just finaled out at 109-80. I watched most of this first 3 quarters of this game before it got really ugly. The Nuggets, man, they just know how to play basketball together. It's one of those teams, like, they are a legitimate 1 seed for a reason. Joker obviously gets it done night in and night out. He went 13, 14, and 9 tonight. You had a massive game from Michael Porter Jr. He came out shooting a ton just to like get used to it. I'm guessing that's what their strategy was, like try to get him hot early, comfortable in the playoffs. But he had 18 with 11 rebounds. That's really good for him. Then I don't know if you guys remember from a few years ago, but Jamal Murray might be one of the most lethal clutch scorers in the NBA when it comes to just like needing points. Like Jamal Murray can get you points when you need it. He had 24 tonight with 8 rebounds and 8 assists. Aaron Gordon threw in another 13. KCP threw in 15 off the bench. Brown gave him 14. I mean, this team, they ended up playing a ton of guys because it was a blowout. They ended up winning by 30. But at the end of the day, this series is going how it should. This is a 1 versus an 8 seed. So they should 4-0 the Timberwolves if the Timberwolves don't play great. Like, they're going to have to play out of their butt to win some games. And when you have Rudy at 8, minus 28 on the court, you have Cat at 11 points. He looked horrible tonight. You have Mike Conley at 8 points. Did nothing really. And that's with them controlling the glass. Rudy actually had 13 boards and Cat had 10. So, and that they still lost that bad. So, Ant-Man had 18, 2 and 5. Not awful. He went 6 of 15. Not awful, but they're really going to have to play out of their butt if they're going to have any chance in this series. And that's just how you have to look at it. Because, yes, that team on paper isn't that bad. But when you have what the Nuggets have, like the Nuggets have 5 starters who have been playing together all year round and have electric chemistry. Yes, and they actually are well rested because they actually rested a bunch at the end of the season, which some people were worried about. And I'm like, you can't really be worried about it when you have someone like Joker and Aaron Gordon, who like all these players know their game. Like Aaron Gordon, he's going to go dunk the ball, play athletic, good defense. You have Michael Porter Jr., he's a shooter. He's going to go out, shoot, and play pretty decent defense and rebound the ball pretty well. You have Joker. I don't even have to tell you what he's going to do good because he's back-to-back MVP. Jamal Murray, he knows his game. He can go out there and get points whenever he wants, any way which he wants. And then KCP's been a deadly 3-point shooter this year. At one point, he was the best percentage in the league. So they know how to play with each other. They know what they're going to do night in and night out. Timberwolves still aren't figured that out yet. Like there's like some like veterans and then they have young players like Anthony Edwards. And it's just not going to happen. I would imagine this series is going to end up being 4-0, 4-1. I don't see any world that doesn't happen. I guess I didn't really give you guys predictions if anyone did make it this far in the video. I do think the Suns will come back strong. I do think they're going to end up winning the series in either 5 or 6 games. I think the Bucks, if Giannis isn't hurt really bad, end up winning that series. I do think it's going to be a little tough, though. I think they're going to go 6 games at least. And then Lakers, Grizzlies, if Ja's out, I probably would say Lakers in 5. Maybe 6 if someone gets like scary hot, but without Ja, I think the Grizzlies don't really stand a chance against the hot Lakers right now. So that's day 2 of the NBA playoffs. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.